Oops, up. Yeah, good evening, everybody. This is Priyadarshi, founder of MyStartupYatra. And again, today we are with one of our revered guests, Mr. Vinay Dora, the founder of Crowd Product, and Subbu, our regular host, who is an advisor to MyStartupYatra, and he's an ex-TI. Okay. Hi, Vinay,
Hi.
and
Hello,
hi,
everyone.
Subbu.
Hey, Priyadarshi.
Yeah, over to Subbu.
Okay, thank you. So wonderful. So today, when we were talking about what the discussion is going to be, one angle that we wanted to take is it's all about value for the audience. It's all about value for startup founders across India and anyone who's tuning in. So keeping that in mind, we've got Mr. Vinay Dora. Vinay Dora is the founder and CEO of CoPro Technologies, which owns a product called Crowd Product. Vinay is here to tell us more about it and also talk about how startups can collaborate with each other, what the industries look like over the past 5 years, and what are the trends going forward. Having said that, Vinay is also a writer for Your Story. He is an avid curator of communities, big into events for startups, for various other groups. He's big on space tech as well. And Vinay hosts a bunch of events on his platform as well. So welcome, Vinay.
Thank you for having me. That's a long introduction.
No, that's just the beginning of it. So before we start off, as is tradition, tell us tell us who you are and tell us what you're doing with crowd product, how you got into the whole crowd engagement and your love for audiences. Tell us about that.
Sure. So, hello, everyone. Thanks for taking your time and joining in. And thanks to Subbu Startup Yatra for having me here. So the journey began, just like everyone else. I was, doing my engineering, and I had an interest in writing, and I used to do a lot of reading and watching a lot of content on television, especially news and content. Um, so just like a lot of other people, I joined, through campus recruitment. I began working. I began with a bank back then. They were hiring a lot more engineers, and while working there, I still had this whole interest in media and content. I used to start writing for newspapers, magazines, and eventually I got an opportunity with a company called Pressmart Media back in 2006-7. So I tell people, I don't look that old, but I have some experience. So I started doing things with this early company called Pressmart Media. I began with online ad sales, with blogging, with business development, with the entire 9 yards of media. And I spent 2.5 years over there before moving to Yahoo in Bangalore, where I joined the editorial and production team. While everything was very nice in Yahoo, a lot of great people, CMSs, content, everything was great. I would say I learned much more in Pressmart Media, which was like a startup. Every aspect of running a media company, online ad sales, click through ratios, business development, a lot more ownership, a lot more, working with companies. In 2010, I decided to move on from Yahoo. It's a very comfortable space. I realized that I was getting too comfortable, and I decided to take a couple of years of break, do my media management. I did at Stockholm School of Economics and traveled around Europe, went to China to learn Mandarin and all of that. That was an eye opener. When I was working there, I'd also done a little bit of startup evangelizing. I used to do a bit of introducing European startups, so Singapore government's VC arm, and every startup I would refer, I would get like $200 for referring. That's when I got interested in the entire entrepreneurship space. So when I came back to India, uh, in fact, I was very interested in the crowdfunding, crowdsourcing space. So while I was abroad, I used to be involved with some of the crowdfunding platforms like Indiegogo, GrowVC, and a bunch of other platforms. I like the entire idea of how the audience can participate and enable ideas to fruition. So when I came back to India, I joined a Bombay-based crowdfunding platform called Catapult. And while working there for a year, I realized that in the Indian context and the Asian context, offline works much better than just a pure online platform. And that's when we started doing these online pitch events called Crowd Pitch. We used to do it at pubs in Bangalore, at investor offices, at co-working spaces. Then we realized that why not build tools to enable more productive pitch events. So slowly, along with evangelists and supporters like Subbu and the others from Thai Bangalore, we started evolving into a more event engagement solution. So it's been 3 4 years since, and things have been great.
Thanks for that. That gives context to what you've been doing and where you are at right now. But so in a nutshell, what is Crowd Product? What does it do? And where are you at right now with the product?
Yeah. To put it simply, there is events and there are productive events. We work with those who are looking at productive events, as in people do events for some purpose, right? Whether it's for brand awareness, whether it's for survey, whether it's for amplification of what they're doing, or also whether it's for lead generation. Based on what outcomes the event organizer is looking at, we customize the event engagement solution end to end to make it happen. So there are three components here. One component is the video conferencing solution or a live streaming solution like AirMeet and Zoom and Google Meets, and then there are these FB Live, Facebook Live, Instagram. All of that is there. Then there is our part of it, which is the audience engagement part of it. The surveys, the polls, the quizzes, the questions, feedback, the connections, and whatever engagement parameters that people want to leverage, we can customize it very easily. Just a couple of clicks. And the third part of it is the outcome part of it, the reports. The takeaways for social media or media, PR, content, community, whatever the event organizer is looking at, we help facilitate that through our tech solution.
Okay. I've also put down the website details in the comments for any audience members who are looking at deeper into the solution itself. So when I tell us, so what's the business model look like? Because the reason I'm asking is because typically, so I've done events previously and I've done about 300 large, small to large scale conferences, various kinds of meetups, etc. And usually for an event, a live event that happens, you have two main sources of revenue. One is gate fees, and the second is sponsorship. Uh, and sponsorship could be of various kinds, so that I'm bucketing everything into just one place. So, where does a tech solution feature in this thing? Where does the money come from?
Yeah. So just like innately our DNA is co-opt, collaborate, and become a force multiplier. So even right now, a lot of people on a platform, they may do ticketing sales on their websites or Eventbrite or Explorer or wherever they want to do the sales. They may even get registrations from wherever they want. So we just integrate the link. People who want to register to it. We integrate third-party video conferencing or any other tools that people are keen on. We don't want to
Mhm.
force upon an event organizer has a lot of things, right? They have their entire vision, goal, objective, vision, right? We try and listen as much as possible to the event organizer, share some of our previous experiences, and based on the event organizer's vision and objectives, we help them achieve it. So many of the event organizers also leverage us for an ongoing engagement. We realize that it's not just a one-off thing. They do a lot of webinars, events, sessions in an ongoing manner. Why not be their long-term partners? Again, what was the specific question? I was just
No, what's the business model like? How for the audience, for example, for
Hmm.
them looking outside inwards into Crowd Product,
Yeah.
take us through that in terms of value prop you were talking about, but which part of your solution does an event organizer, for example, do they pay for? Like, how do you go about that selling process?
Yeah. So people pay per month and per event. Like some of the Thai annual conferences, IoT Next or the NASCOM Product Conclave, they pay us for one large conference. There are
Okay.
other people, other brands who do sustained set of events. Our past customers have been OnePlus, Vodafone, even other startup ecosystem people like Zone Startups and Head Start and all of them. They are long-term partners since they do a lot of events, and we charge them on a most of them at least. We charge them on a monthly, and the duration of it. Uh, where we're coming from is the outcome based. So just like a crowdfunding platform, right, where they have an objective, and based on the objective, they use a solution. So if your objective is uh, to get more users watching it on their mobile phone, or to get event amplification. Some of the Thai events they wanted, to run contests and Twitter engagement, all of that, right? Or let's say the objective is to do a survey at one of these NASCOM design surveys, where they want to do a survey over there. Or some of the events they want to do matchmaking. At NASCOM Product Conclave, they use us for Investor Startup Connect, or they use us for Corporate Startup Connect, or they use us for voting on the 140 startups. So whatever the objective is, that objective through our solution, we help you realize it. If you want even activations, we can help you with that. I think Subbu is frozen over there. Can you hear me, Subbu? Because I can go on a tangent just to help you understand the solution even more.
Carry on, carry on.
Yeah,
Maybe some internet issues should have
yeah,
happened.
yeah. So I think whatever objective that a brand requires. So some of the
Mm.
other companies, for instance,
Yeah.
if there's a blockchain company and they want, to get registrations for their blockchain course, that can also be a use case. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Either I got cut off or you got cut off. I missed some of the
So
that you
yeah,
said.
so all these learnings we have got is from crowdfunding platforms. Can we help a company achieve their objective through events?
Okay. Okay. Can you tell a process or any steps how you are using it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Suppose, like,
So
suppose an organization is approaching you. What are the
hmm,
things? Small step. It maybe a technical it is, but at least
yeah,
we just want to understand.
simple. They can either email engage@crowdproduct.com
Hmm.
and let us know what is their event objective. Some of them may say that I want to do a workshop and I want it to lead to a paid course. All
Correct.
these yoga and these other courses, even educational courses. Or they may tell us, I want to do a launch event of a new product, right? Or they want to say, I want this, I'm having a large conference. I want you to help us with matchmaking. I want to have a custom solution to help with matchmaking. Or there was a IAM Calicut where they wanted to do a sort of a networking event. They wanted people
Hmm.
to do stuff together. Or there's a startup pitching event. They want people to rate, vote, all of that. So based on that, we provide a custom link which the organizer can share it as a standalone, or if the organizer wants to add it to their app or their website or wherever they want, if they want to email it to them through
Hmm.
share it on WhatsApp, email, or SMS,
Hmm.
it can be done. So we try to integrate a plug-and-play solution into the organizer's communication.
Okay.
So yeah, you
Okay.
just have to let us know what kind of an event, what is your objective, and we create a custom link and we give it to you. You can use a
Okay.
custom link for engagement, and then by the end of it, the organizer can see instantly, real time, how the engagement is going.
Okay. Okay. Using by using your tool or by using your mechanism, uh, what are the benefits or what are the monetary benefits? Suppose a client or customer is, or a startup is before using your tool, they have an X turnover or X turnout. Using your tool, what is the percentage of increase in their
Yeah,
turnout?
yeah. So one thing is we are everywhere. So say for instance, there are multiple channels where people are. People are on WhatsApp. People are on YouTube. People are on Facebook. The same set of activities can also be replicated on a Facebook Live or
Hmm.
a YouTube video, or you can share it on WhatsApp or email or SMS, right? If you want us to also share it, we also have a set of we have a college network, a large college network, 1,200 colleges,
Hmm.
which we can enable people with as an additional sort of an outreach effort.
Hmm.
But otherwise, we are more of an enabling platform, where in some use cases where you want people to be very active on social media. You're not
Hmm.
concerned about the online session, or you want people to be very active on on Twitter, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, right? So we just complement those efforts. So we say
Okay.
engagement plus amplification.
Okay. Okay. Means you were saying your engagement and amplification.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Suppose we are taking a use case scenario of an e-commerce company, or how you can give them some value additions. Again, I'm repeating the same questions which I had
Sure.
asked you, but it's like, and
Sure.
suppose an e-commerce company, he's doing some business,
Mhm.
so he's getting an announcement like his reachability is getting, but
Mm.
how his engagement with the customers will increase his benefit. Again, I'm
Exactly.
say repeating the same question, but
Sure.
in a
Sure.
different way.
Sure. So my startup Yatra, they can tell the e-commerce company that we'll do an event, a webinar. We have
Hmm.
partners uh, with whom we collaborate with to make this happen. My startup Yatra will ask the e-commerce company, what would you like? Why are you doing this event? Right? Would you want to showcase some new products and get pre-orders, like how
Hmm.
crowdfunding projects get pre-orders, right? Or would you like people to say, for example, if it's a mobile phone, right? Which kind of a phone do they like? How much will they be willing to pay for it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or if it's something, they have a different set of chairs, they have a different set of bottles, they have whatever the e-commerce company wants to show, headphones, right? The
Hmm.
audience can let them know that, hey, I'm interested in these set of products. I like this color. This has worked really well. Maybe I also want to order it. So the
Hmm.
e-commerce company will get, one is brand awareness, the other one is sort of a survey. The third one is also pre-orders of the brand, right? The e-commerce
Okay.
company can put some orders for the brand, all through a Startup Yatra event.
Actually,
Okay.
I'll
Got
add
it.
one point over
Absolutely
there
fine.
because one point to be added over there is that I've actually used the solution and fairly early on in 2016 or so, right, Vinay? So
Hmm.
when we used to do these, so quick background is that I used to work at Thai Bangalore, and there we used to do this event called Startup Showcase. And one of the main takeaways for the startups was obviously getting a large audience. So the audience would be anywhere between 50 to 100 people, and they interact with the audience, plus they interact with a specific jury panel, right? So then that's where you get immediate feedback on your product, incremental improvements that can be done, etc. The main issue as an event organizer for me, the main thing was engagement with the audience was always an issue because there's someone speaking on stage, and usually they're addressing the jury, and what happens to the audience, right? They're just there
Okay.
to watch. So the first time actually when we tried out crowd product, what we did was we gave the link to everyone in the audience. Two things: one is give feedback on these pitches because ultimately wisdom of the crowd sort of a concept would work, and it actually gave what we did was all of the answers that we got, we gave it back to the founders. So they now have more feedback from, especially if you're talking about, let's say a shoe brand that's pitching on stage. You've got 100
Hmm.
people in the audience who could potentially be your customers,
Hmm.
and having any sort of a B2C brand, it really helps to get that feedback. And point two, the other thing which actually worked well with crowd product was that the audience used to connect the founders with other people. So, for example, Priyadarshi, if you're pitching, let's say, your brand on stage,
Okay.
now we've got people in the audience who would jump in and say, "Hey, I can make 2, 3 introductions for you and open some business doors for you. Would that be of interest?" Right? So,
Okay.
I mean, again, so as a user of the product, these were two main takeaways for me, and that's something that I just wanted to jump in. I'm so sorry, my internet keeps cutting in and out.
Okay.
But Vin, I just wanted to give you that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, the product has evolved based on your feedback. A lot of your feedback, and we really appreciated that. Event organizers and companies have been giving us very actively feedback.
Mhm. So Vinay, actually, that was one of the main questions. Again, since we're talking about a tech solution for an end case, uh, what was it like when you built crowd products specifically? Question number one. I know you started off trying to sell the solution, but you saw that the customer demand was for a lot more. So there was a solution plus service layer that they wanted, right? So could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, no, it's a general thing in India where people want a productized service, right? Unless it's something physical that they can feel, a mobile phone that they bought, I know they paid this much. Otherwise, generally the mindset is people generally don't want to pay for software or content. Coming from the media space as well, right? Nobody pays for content, so it takes a little more effort for people to pay for some software, right?
Mhm.
But eventually, when people see the value, they realize that it has value, right? Along with that, people also want service elements. Can
Right.
you facilitate it? So now in this COVID times, it has become a pure product, and even the services have got digital, right? I don't need to be at a conference. Even earlier, I didn't have to be. Companies like Zone Startups have done a lot of events at Bombay Stock Exchange elsewhere, and we never went to Bombay for it.
Mhm.
They used it, and even some of the Thai charter members like Madan Padaki, who did this social venture partners event in Delhi, we didn't have to go to Delhi, so it happened. But generally in Bangalore, since we are around, we get invited to events and we're there.
Okay. So the again the reason is because value for the audience is usually when startup founders begin building their product, they assume if you build something, then the audience will come, and that if you build something good, then they will give you money and they will use your product. Whereas as you start growing and as a venture, as a team, you realize the need for sales, you realize the need for branding, for marketing, all of that. So I sort of wanted to bring that perspective in for the audience because that's kind of the value that they would get.
Yeah, yeah. So I always tell people that things have changed now. I mean, earlier, a lot more people used to say, I'm in stealth mode. I don't want anybody to know about it. I want to be perfect before even few people get to know about it. But I tell them that, it's an ongoing process, right? I mean, you would get perfect in an ongoing manner. There's no perfect product. By the time you build it, I don't want to name a company, but there was a very nice company in Pune, one of the crowdfunding projects that we did. Right? They had this whole thing of car intelligence and all that. They built it really well. And when we put them in touch with Zoom Car, I used to be the co-founder of the crowdfunding platform. And Zoom Car said, no, I wanted this feature, a feature where I could switch on, switch off from a remote location. So what's the use of building a product in stealth for 2 3 years and then not having that feature that your customer wants? It's better to be open. There will be hundreds of people who may try and do the same thing. That's how it is. Eventually, the best product that people are willing to sustain and people who understand the space really well will eventually be more popular. So it's better to get more people, connecting with the product, giving you feedback, testing it out, giving you critical feedback, and then you getting that and developing. So I feel even if people try what we're doing, and which is fine, at the end of it, the best product is what will be used, right? And we would eventually collaborate with them. So if I tell somebody that you have a product that is even better than what we're doing, I would be more than happy partnering with you because
Mhm.
the original goal is to add value to the end customer, right? Which is the event organizer or the brand. So I would tell them that get it out there initially. Get traction, get people liking you, disliking you. Doesn't matter. Eventually, you'll reach. If you're really driven, you will reach your objective.
No, that's a very fair point. In fact, just something that happened yesterday to add to your point. So we had Vikas of Block Labs, which is a blockchain company, and so he was on talking to us and telling us about what the blockchain ecosystem is like. And after the call, he said, "I've got an end-to-end encrypted video conferencing solution. Would you like to check it out?" And we ended up like talking on that for about 45 minutes. Pretty good solution, and they're pre-launch. So right now, I won't tell you more about it, but it's a good solution, and exactly what you said, which is you show it to more users, you show it to more people who could be not just your users but also your influencers, to ensure that when you are launching and when you are ready to get your hockey stick growth, you've got the right kind of backers with you. and backers need not always be the people with money. They should also be the people who are using your product and
Yeah.
taking that forward.
Yeah.
So Vinay, one more question before we sort of pan out and talk about a slightly larger topic. How do you go about pricing a product like yours? It's because the reason I'm asking is it's not really a solution that gives you, let's say something like Uber or Ola, which like okay, I'll get an auto and let me pay for that, and there's surge pricing, there's XYZ. How do you, because what you're talking about is tracking outcomes, you're talking about making the engagement more fulfilling and more enriching for all the parties involved. So how do you go about pricing something like this?
Yeah. So I have a background in advertising sales. So
Mhm.
we had these things around, CPMs, click per impression, cost per impressions. CPCs is cost per click, and CPL or
Mhm.
CPA is cost per acquisition. So cost per click is how many people click and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your solution." Whoever's doing the event or whatever. Then you have cost per impressions, which a lot of these large platforms who have millions of viewers,
Okay.
media companies. And then it's cost per acquisition, like these banking, lead generation, where they fill up a form and all that. So based on those costs, we come to the pricing. So it's like anywhere between 500 to 1,000 cost per acquisition. Cost per click is 50 to 100. It used to be 50
Mhm.
in those days. And impressions is based on 1 million impressions you pay us this much and all that. So some of our pricing comes from there. Uh, the other thing, the advantage that we have right now is also that we tell people that we do an exact physical event that you would do virtually, apart from the serving of food and beverage. So people understand very quickly. They realize that hey, I'm going to save on the convention center costs. I'm going to save on 100 different things, right? And then they're more than willing to work with you because so much of cost you save, right? I'm in fact also trying to see can we actually deliver F&B when this COVID thing gets better? Can we reach out to companies like Swiggy and other people to actually send across a, a beer and a food thing to their houses? So yeah, there are a lot of things that can be done right now.
Wow, that's exciting. That's your next version. That's what you're working on now. So sort of bringing as close to the real event experience as possible, but for people from their homes.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but on that point, tell us how COVID has been both for crowd product as well as the overall event industry. We're seeing various trends, seeing a lot of webinars, but that's just the consumer perspective, right? What's it been like as an organizer?
Yeah. So one hashtag that we have at our co-working space is hashtag no excuses. So I tell even the team members that we just have no excuses. So COVID or no COVID, you have to go for it. So one thing we talked about this whole scenario was a year ago. You know, can we do more of virtual engagements? Right? We got a few people who did that, but many of them didn't see the reason. There was no reason for them to move virtual when they could do a physical event. And just like how demonetization happened in 2016, COVID forced a lot of people to be online only. And this is how it's going to be. It's going to be this way for the next, not just for the next few months, but even for a year. And nobody would want to be in a crowded space, right? Until things get better, even concerts and all those places. So we again started doing a lot of these sessions just to show people, what all can be done. So yesterday we had this uh, how movies can be used for de-stressing. So we had a speaker from LA and one from Australia, and they want to show videos of movies, their favorite videos. So we kept experimenting. Can we show clips from movies when they talk about it? Can we show, things around movies? Can we do a movie quiz? We had a
Mhm.
movie quiz over there. So we are the kind who just experiments. We succeed or fail doesn't matter, but we have to be doing a lot of things. We need to keep it engaging.
Understood.
So we
You've also done something for the yoga community, something with large spiritual organizations for
right.
the space tech community. So I'm just trying to
Yeah.
fill in all the gaps because luckily I have all the context and I get regular updates from you. So basically, so you're pretty big on the space tech side specifically. You've been doing these space tech pitches.
So space tech, we did it for a company. It is an investment company that wanted to They invested in three space tech portfolio companies, and each of the portfolio companies had a different requirement. So one of them wanted to reach out to investors and people. Another wanted to do a round table around the space activities bill. The third
Mhm.
one wanted to hire people in the space community. In fact, we that was one of our big success stories where they did a Space Tech 101 workshop, and they eventually hired. So one of them is actually a team member of the company, Jofin Syriac. He
Mhm.
came through a Space Tech workshop, and he's now working with Astrogate Labs. So yeah, I mean, events can be used for outcomes, right? So
Okay.
yeah,
No,
so
we
we work.
see that. I mean, I'm so sorry to sort of jump in over there. The key line that you said is events can be used for outcomes. Rather, events should be used for outcomes. And we've been talking about this for the better part of the last 4 years in terms of how events can be made better and how, for example, and for that matter, we have an audience chat over here and we've got a bunch of people online. So, any of you wants to collaborate with each other, just put down your comments, see what it is that you can offer. That's a nice way to start. And also see what it is that you would like. If there are top three things, as Vinay said, if there's any hiring needs, or if you need product help, or if you need marketing help, if you need funding, put that down in the comments. Vinay's been working with a bunch of investors, as he just mentioned. And also, if you would like to directly jump on and talk to us, just raise your hand. We can bring you on. So again, just sort of taking a quick step back and telling people this is how you do things. But okay, Vinay. So this is about crowd product. Let's now talk about Vinay Dora himself. You've been fairly famous in the Bangalore startup world itself, and both as a founder and also as your story mentioned you as one of the most promising voices of 2019. And so how does it all work out, and what's your strategy? As is it because you want to market yourself and then push the solution, or is it because you're from the media world? And what's it like? Tell us more about that.
So it takes a lot of time. There's no particular thing that I go after. So I started writing about crowdsourcing, crowdfunding back in 2015 with Your Story. I wanted a platform. I'm a fan of Your Story because I see they share a lot of positive news and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
learnings. And so I've been sharing a lot of my event takeaways, learnings about crowdfunding space, about different community learnings through their medium. Uh, and whenever there's an opportunity to also co-opt with them or co-op with you with Thai when you were at Thai Bangalore, or anybody who feels that there is a need, to collaborate and together realize objectives, I try and work with them. Right. So that's always been, and this is something. This whole thing came about when I was abroad. I realized that many of these Swedish companies, and I got to speak to some fantastic Swedish companies. In fact, the even some of the other founders, like the OnePlus co-founder, is a senior at Stockholm School of Economics, Kalpe. I realized all of them wanted to first collaborate. Only when you become like a Flipkart or a Amazon, then you can talk about competition, right? The first step here should be, how can we capture the market together? How can we co-opt? And how can we add value? So that's something
Okay.
that has been with me the last few years, and it comes naturally now.
Again, the point is the way that a lot of people have that I've interacted with and they've spoken to me about crowd product is to say that first is Vinay. He's the founder and he's the guy who knows about events. He knows how to pull off these events. So we go to him, and it so happens that he has a good solution as well that's useful. So I've heard this from a lot of people in the ecosystem where they genuinely say that we can reach out to Vinay, we can rely on him because he knows how to pull this off. So I kind of wanted to weave that
Yeah.
into the conversation itself.
In fact, I have a thing to say here. So culturally, each place is different. Say if I'm in the West, it would be
Mhm.
just the tech solution. Nobody should know who are the people behind it.
Mhm.
But in India, people want to know who are the people behind it. That's how trust and credibility is built. If you look at a lot of popular brands, right? uh, and we haven't reached anywhere close to it. But if you look at the popular brands, Your Story, Shraddha Sharma, and Paytm, all of that, people trust the individual initially, and
Mhm.
then the product and the platform takes over. So it's always like that, I feel. And while I wouldn't want to be in the limelight, but people do approach me because of the close to 2 decades of experience in events and conferences and some learnings and insights I have. And at some point, it's going to be the product. At some point, it's just going to be a professional team, the product, right? Right now, in an early stage, a founder is the product. Fortunately or unfortunately, in the early stage, it's always like that, and you can't change it here.
So you're saying in the early stages the founder is the product. Wow. No, that's a pretty heavy hitting line. And for that matter, even if you look at any other sector, let's take something which is an entirely contrasting sector over here, something like biotechnology, where the time required to build your solution is anywhere between a year to 3 years. And until then, it's only the credentials of the founder and the previous work that they've done that carries you forward, right?
Yeah.
So no, that makes perfect sense. And so Vinay, the other thing is that when you're in the ecosystem and when you're regularly interacting with founders, with investors, with people like me when I was working at TIE, what are some of your tips for other founders who are in the ecosystem but they may not have such deep connection in terms of making it work? What are some of your quick fire tips for how do you get involved and how do you sort of make it work?
So I would say the cliche thing, which is attend events, but now that events won't
Mhm.
happen, be seen. It's a very, very crowded space. It's a super crowded space. And sometimes you just need to get noticed. We have been fortunate enough, as in we didn't have to do the business development. Many of our customers have come through, some of the referrals that we have got, and we're really grateful for them. In fact, we also want to incentivize people who can help us with referrals because they take the time and the energy to put us in touch with customers, right? So it can't
Mhm.
be a one-man job or a one-woman job. It has to be a lot more people who can help you, especially when you're early. You may just have one founder. You may be, just building the platform, right? There can be a lot more people who can help you. So identify who are these influencers who can help you very early. Find out which channels add value. You should try 4 5 different channels and find out which
Mhm.
ones. So one thing is you need to measure the effectiveness of your engagement, right? You may have gone to 5 different conferences. Which conferences have given you, more customers or more investors, or maybe you're hiring some talent, right? Ask people who have been to multiple conferences which one is better. If you have a talent hiring requirement, in fact, people like Subbu and the other people who are part of the ecosystem and part of investor communities, right? uh, like if I need to reach out to a certain XYZ investor, right? Since Subbu has been with Gain and many other investor communities, I'll probably go and ask him, which sort of investor should I go to? If I'm very early, should I go to Axelar, or should I go through one of these pitching events through, Thai Bangalore, or should I, send an email and apply for events? So don't hesitate to ask people who have seen it, done it early on, and be out there. Don't So many of the founders I see is they're very conscious about what others think about them, and generally, today's millennials and all of us, we always worry about what others are thinking about us. But to be honest, they don't care. They move on. They may be very critical after one pitch or one session, but that's good, right? And then they forget about it. And I can even tell you an example. Like we sent an emailer
Mhm.
in 2017, 18. So my colleague, I'm naming my colleague, but yeah, I would take the responsibility. We sent an emailer instead of BCCing all the other people. We CC'd all of them,
Oh.
all the and we got people telling us, how could you do this? How could you do that? And so I had to go tell one of those 2 3 people who, and when they replied, they sent reply all, so that everyone else also knows, right? And so I just replied to one of them. I said, I'm really sorry, and you should throw away your ego as a founder. You can't have any ego as an early stage founder, zero ego. So I had to tell 1 2 3 of them, I'm sorry, this was a mistake and please excuse. 2 3 of them, and then it became quiet. But after
Mhm.
that, we had so many supporters from that group, who who became support because they saw how we handled it, they saw the value, and many of the people who are part of that group have become our supporters. So sometimes you even learn by making mistakes. You may screw up in a large event. Fortunately, we haven't screwed up in any of the large events. We take all the precautions before the event, but there could be a reason why things screw up, right? There could be things that screw up, and you will have to take it in the shin, right? You could have your, people blasting you, people saying this sucks, whatever. You have to take it. You have to take all that. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in the space. I see there's a question also from Akash from
That's right.
Cloudwire. How should we engage customers using digital platforms? What is the best digital customer engagement strategy? So I wouldn't give you one platform, but there are many experts who have done, even Subbu, who's our moderator, right? He's done a lot of digital campaigns for brands, right? Where you can have an online activity plus a series of events. So right now, what I see is somebody shared in a recent event. Marketing is content. I think Amish Agarwal or somebody in one of those events said
Mhm.
marketing is content. So how do you create content, right? Can you do a series of webinars? Can you do a series of campaigns where you create a lot of content around your company? So if you talk about Cloudwire, who's your target audience, right? You can even type if you want. Who's your target audience? What would your outcome be? Is Cloudwire a B2B company, or is it a customer? Uh, uh, is it a B2C company, right?
We can actually bring Akash
So
on
based on that,
just to tell us
you
more.
could find out.
So, Priyadarshi, is it since this is two-way, would you want to bring him on?
Okay, I see
Yeah,
he's put
yeah. Keep going, keep
retailer
going.
point.
That's right.
Yeah, I see he's put that retailer point of a POS sort of a service. So I'd imagine they would want to reach out to small shops and owners who want to first get educated about their solution, right? Uh, they want to know about how the point of sale Cloudwire company
Mhm.
can help the retailer.
Right.
So one thing is they will have to talk about how the solution is different from the many other tens of other companies, right? That is brand awareness. So for brand awareness, they need to be seen by more retailers, right? So now, where are these retailers? Are they spending their time on social media platforms? Are they on WhatsApp? Are they on Facebook? Are they a lot of places? So can you do a series of activities with those retailers where you talk about the Cloudwire solution, right? It's not a one-off activity. If it's a one-off activity, then people will just forget it. Can you do a series of 5, 10 activities where, in fact, I mean, Subbu and the others will be experts. But I'm just telling whatever comes to my mind now. And when they're watching it, can they tell you, "Hey, I'm interested in using it. I'd like a demo. I'd like
Mhm.
you to come and visit my retail store. I have these pain points. Can you collect all these inputs, data points, and then contact these retailers?" So these are like lead gen for you. One is they have brand awareness, and then you have outcomes. So is
I'll
that
add
something
one more
that
point, Vinay. So I think you've covered pretty much everything that can be done. But so Akash, so the way, unfortunately, I mean, we don't know too much about the solution. But let's say, okay, POS solution. Potentially, your customer is a retailer. But how about positioning the entire service as Akash, who's the founder of Cloudwire, is the all-out expert of anything to do with your customers' needs, and that's the kind of content which you keep feeding them, which may or may not be related to your product directly, but to say that we are the experts in this sector and we have a good product. So every time you do a webinar, every time you to send an email, it could be as simple as a WhatsApp text that you send saying, how is it going today? What are your top issues? Even if you can't solve all of the issues, that's all right. If you can bring in people who are either in your partner network, who are some of your mentors, get them to solve all of your customers' side problems, not really a main issue. And then at every point that you can, keep telling them, by the way, we have the solution, you can use it. Out of 10 people, maybe 3 people will convert, but the other 7 people have you in their recall. And whenever they meet somebody else, they will say, Cloudwire gave me this much information about my sector that helped me grow. By the way, if you're interested in in a point of sale solution, you can have a look at theirs. So I think that's just rephrasing what Vinay is saying. But this is something that, in fact, I've seen a lot of startups in India do very well. One example, and just off the top of my head, DigitalOcean does this quite well with their cloud services. So they've got very well written instructionals on how to move your entire infrastructure on the cloud, and what are the do's and don'ts, pros and cons of moving it on. How do you take care of security? How do you do a bunch of other things? And you can use their solution. So that's another way of doing it. Buffer does that quite well with their content. There's another company called Intercom. One of the best blogs on B2B marketing is Intercom. So you should check that out. But these are basically engagement strategies. The only thing that I would say you should not do, or rather watch out that you don't fall into that pit, is don't become a digital broadcasting platform. No offense to any of the other webinars or anyone else, but you see a lot of content that's going out, and it's more like consuming TV content where there's not enough engagement, not enough interactions that are happening, and that is not going to give you as much return on investment, which is all the things that you're putting into the webinar in the first place.
Yeah. In fact,
Does that make sense?
exactly. Engagement, interaction is what is needed. It needs to be two-way, right? You can just put a social media post and all that. That's fine. That's also vanity. You have to do certain things, but I think
Mhm.
if there is a sort of a engagement, right, you need something to happen. So I just typed down your set of
Oh,
examples:
sweet.
buffer, intercom, and all that. I even added cloud products. So yeah, a set of
No, I
tools
mean,
to.
actually, cloud product, the good part that I like is you've actually exposed me to a lot of new kinds of content. Now that we're all locked down and there's not much that you can do, leaving your house, getting something like a movie quiz, or getting a bunch of people from around the world to talk about movies, to get them to talk about yoga. All of this are nice ways to unwind and relax. Now, an event doesn't really have to be something which is heavy content about how to grow your business, how to get funding, but there's a new layer of content that you guys are sort of pushing through your events, and that's another way of, again, marketing the product and getting it
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, I think once a content person, always a content person. So have this.
No, I strongly believe every startup should have, every team, no matter how big or small, right up to the biggest companies, should have at least one person who always thinks content, 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 because that person ultimately is going to spread your net out wide enough so that more people come and have that first interaction with your brand. And
So
that is something with, especially if you see early stage startups miss that a lot. There are a bunch of companies, a bunch of apps rather on my phone, which I meet founders and I'm like, if I knew you existed when you existed, I would have used your app. And unfortunately, they're not around anymore because by nature,
mm,
startups are hard to run. But
mm,
if only they threw out their net wider, and if only they were able to get more people onto that. You keep talking about that point where your startup hits the hockey stick. Unfortunately, a lot of startups don't get to that point. They may have a great product. Once you get involved, once you get into the ecosystem, you're like, amazing, this is what I need. But to get you in that, the activation energy is pretty high, and that's something that you need to jump across and get in. So
yeah.
anyway, I mean, I've sort of been telling you a bunch of things from my own experience. But Vinay, the other point that I just wanted to circle back to and ask you is, you've worked with traditional event organizers, large associations, media organizations, people who are really good at doing events, and they're really good at figuring out outcomes. And now you're seeing this whole switch with COVID, etc. Do you think there's a space for founders to jump on and do their own events, do their own webinars, or anything of that sort, or just sort of create their own space online? And what would be your tips for doing that?
Yeah. So the advantage right now is you can be anywhere and you can make an event happen. It is very simple. You just have to know what you want from it.
Mhm.
Uh, so I would say find out what is your objective to do the event. whether it's for educating people about your product, or to do a survey, a market research, or understanding an MVP or a closed group focus discussion, or it's to also get some business leads if that's your goal. So find out what is your objective, then find out what are the set of tools. It need not just be an event, because you know in the run up to the event you will also have to do a social media sharing, emailing, reaching out to the community. You may also need to have influencers, and get more people involved. It's not just you, the one founder or the set of two people, right? Who are the people who can help you be part of it? And then plan what will, also think of it from a customer point of view. People have limited time, they have tons of activities happening. How to make it engaging enough,
Mhm.
useful enough, and also enable them to give you outcomes. So once that's figured, then you can go ahead. I remember Subbu had shared a few years ago about the how to make the most out of your offline event. He made a list of points. In fact, Subbu has a lot of event experience. I think even after this, you should make a list of how to make the most out of your online webinar event experience. And I'll be happy to publish it and work with you as well. Maybe we should make a list of, the do's and don'ts of webinars as well.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. So I feel even if you're a student, you're building a project in, say, in Orissa, right? And you have something that you want people to know about. Suppose you're building, I don't know, a COVID mask in Orissa, right? Uh, Maybe a fashionable COVID mask, right?
Mhm.
Can you talk about masks? Can you talk about fashion? Can you
Mhm.
show people the kind of mask you're building? Can you ask people how much will they pay for the mask? What colors they like? Can you get orders for the mask through the series of event activities that you do?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that you can do just by sitting at your home in Orissa and making the masks. You know, Now you can reach out anywhere in the world, not just in a regular event in Bangalore. It'll be only Bangaloreans, but now you
Mhm.
could even get people in the US, Europe, anywhere. Right? Once it opens, you can even deliver stuff there.
No, I think all are valid points. And the reason I ask you is because increasingly we're seeing democratization of technology as the next big uh, the next big frontier, right? Now you don't need to, as you said, rent a hall. You don't need to figure out F&B. Many people don't even care about all of that. They're just there for the content. They're there for the connections. And it so happens that there's some food that you can get before you go home. So many times it's just an added benefit, which then becomes the center stage for doing events. And whenever you talk about people, again, context is that just a month back, I was helping a company launch their product, and they got involved into all of these things of saying, okay, how many pakoda should we order and all of that stuff. So because when you're talking about the hospitality angle, all of those issues come in. But as you go forward, yeah.
Yeah. So physical events won't be replaced. I feel things will still
Mhm.
happen because
Right.
people have to meet each other. But at least for this moment, and in the future, you will have a bigger audience. In fact, one
Mhm.
of these founders from Uncanny Vision, they had this parking expo in, I think, in San Diego. People are paying 5, 10, 15, 20,000 for it. US dollars, by the way, yeah? 5 to 10,000 US dollars. And it all got cancelled, right? So now people will think
Right.
twice. Should I buy my flight ticket to San Diego from Bangalore and back? Should I
Mhm.
take a stall for this much price? Should I? So there will be a large audience who will also want an online option where they can seriously be actively participate. So you
Got
will
it.
still have those conferences. I don't see it completely going. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with you that conferences will be there, but at the same time, what's also important is to see the reason why people attend conferences, right? In terms of what it is that they need to achieve. Anyway, so I think this is a debate that we will keep having, and we've had that for the past many years. But for the audience, so basically, so when I on a closing note, top three things that you would tell founders in these times where they can't go out and sell, and how do you keep your business going? What are you doing?
So okay, three things, right? Let me start. The first thing is communicate. since you are really far away, your team members, your well-wishers, why even your family, right? They need to know what you're up to, right? Communicate. Over communication also fine, communicate. The second one, as I always say, is collaborate. People are always there to help you. They are around. So don't hesitate to collaborate, to reach out to people. It's okay if somebody tells you that they don't have the bandwidth right now. The third thing I would say is reach out to your customers, right? Or potential customers, because they can tell you that right now this is their problem, and maybe your solution can solve that problem. You
Mhm.
know, or they may tell you that they like this feature or this part of your product. If you change
Right.
it and solve that product of theirs, that solve that problem of theirs, they may become your customers. So if you call it the three C's: communicate, collaborate, and be after your customers.
All right. Super. Thanks so much, Vinay, for joining us. It's been wonderful
Yeah.
hosting you.
Thanks
And
for the
yeah, so you've put down your details in the comments of how people can reach out to you. We'll be cutting some parts of our interview and then also sharing that on social media. So we'll be sure to put you down over there and ensure that things are happening that way. So thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank
thank
you,
you.
Bina. Thank you,
Startup
Subbu.
Yatra.
And
Yeah.
thank you, our audience. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.